Harvey's Hot Takes with Bryan Hayes. And Bryan, I'm currently cooling down with this, the brand new hat trick milkshake from Harveys. Bryan, I'm going to get you one of these for your 3-hour radio show. This will help get you through it, buddy.
I love it. Looks phenomenal. Send
Yes.
me one. Send the boys one. You know, if you only send it to me and not Jeff O'Neill, he will drive into your studio and drop kick you right in the head, Jay. So you better make sure you send it to all of us.
I will. I'll make sure I get 3 of them for you, buddy. I will do that. Canucks, they're all even with the Oilers, as you know, Bryan. They have home ice. They're only 2 wins away from the Western Conference Final, and yet it seems very doomy and gloomy in Van City right now, and a lot of it has to do with Elias Pettersson's struggles.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you're Elias Pettersson at this point, Jay, what he should be doing is not worried about the outside noise, not worried about what's already happened. He should be thanking his teammates because he has an opportunity to make all of it irrelevant. Whatever's happened in the past is irrelevant because his teammates have shown up and made this a best 2 out of 3 to become one of the last 4 teams standing in the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? We're a week away or less from 4 teams standing and the other 28 playing golf, vacationing in Vegas, Europe, whatever it happens to be. And Pettersson has an opportunity here to completely redeem himself. If he shows up in Game 5 at home, you know the crowd's behind him. Yes, they're ornery right now. They deserve to be. He's been terrible. Rick Tocchet, I think, has actually been lukewarm in terms of his assessment. Publicly, I'm sure he's furious behind the scenes, but Pettersson has not brought anything to the table. He just signed a massive contract. Yes, there's no salary cap in the playoffs, but in the salary cap era, your number is always attached to you. How much do you get paid? That's what's expected. I think there's probably some anxiety in Vancouver as well because they've paid Pettersson, and now there's some concern, well, what kind of playoff performer is he? Again, he has great opportunity here to make all of it completely irrelevant. I'll give you a basketball analogy. Fred VanVleet, when the Raptors won their championship in 2019, in the first round against Orlando, unplayable. Unplayable. Second round against Philly, unplayable. Third round against Milwaukee, lights out. Finals against Golden State, lights out, to the point where Hubie Brown gave him an MVP vote in the final, which is preposterous, but I love Hubie Brown. The point is, Fred VanVleet is a champion. What do people remember? The championship run, what he did against Milwaukee, what he did against, obviously, the Golden State Warriors. The same thing can happen with Pettersson. Thank your teammates because they've given you an opportunity to still be alive. Show up Game 5, show up Game 6, get through the Oilers, bring on whoever's next. If he gets rocking here, the first 10 games of the playoffs will be completely forgotten, and Pettersson needs to understand that. Stop moping around. Stop worrying about what's happened. Snap out of it. Play like you can, and it will be all good in Vancouver.
I know Darren Dreger, our hockey insider, joined you guys on your radio show Tuesday. He joined us as well, talking about some of the head coaching vacancies. We talked about the Maple Leafs, and he confirmed the front runners are Craig Berube and Todd McLellan. I'm curious, Bryan, how you would approach this head coaching search if you were running the Toronto Maple Leafs right now.
I would look at the Maple Leafs, if I'm running the show, as if I'm a big fish in a small pond here, and I should act like it. And what I mean by that is who you're competing with, who has vacancies right now. You're talking about Winnipeg. You're talking about Seattle. You're talking about San Jose. You're talking about teams like New Jersey. None of those teams can match the Maple Leafs' history and the Maple Leafs pocketbook. So what I would do is realize the rest of the market is waiting for me. If I'm the Maple Leafs, they're waiting for me. I believe Craig Berube is waiting for the Maple Leafs to say, okay, you are our guy, and we're willing to pay you whatever your price happens to be. And I think that would apply to Todd McLellan. But I think it would also apply to possibly other options that could come loose. Rod Brind'Amour seems pie in the sky at this point, obviously. The belief is, and Darren Dreger has obviously been all over this, he wants to stay in Carolina. He wants to take care of his staff. But until it's actually a done deal, it needs to be an option for a team like the Maple Leafs. Maybe they lose against the Rangers. Maybe the deal falls through and Rod Brind'Amour does become available. Maybe Mike Sullivan down in Pittsburgh, now that he's been looking back on what's happened the last few years, decides, you know what, I need a new challenge. Maybe he becomes available. And the Maple Leafs obviously can swoop in, pay them more, and offer a more enticing option than I believe any other team with a coaching vacancy can right now. The Leafs, again, have deep pocketbooks, and they have great history, and a huge hockey market. I know the rest of the country goose on the Leafs. I know there's people in Toronto right now not feeling great about the way the Leafs are set up. But that's not generally the way prospective coaches and GMs feel about it. This is a dream job. It is an opportunity for you to make a legacy. If you're the coach that finally gets them over the top, that separates you from the rest. So I think Berube would be in on that. McClellan would be in on that. But I think also other prospective coaches, whoever's out there, you don't have to rush in it. It's almost like the Leafs are that big free agency. Once they sign and make their decision, all the other dominoes will fall. So the Leafs, I think, need to be aware of that. I'm sure they are. Maybe it is Berube. It very well could be. And maybe that's your guy and that's the best option. But I think Craig will be there in 2 or 3 days, 5 or 6 or 7 days. You're not waiting months, but I think you can take your time here and understand if you're the Maple Leafs, puff your chest out. You're going to pay everyone you want more money than anyone else is. You got the history. You got the cachet. You got a lot of high-end talent. You're a big fish in a small pond. Act like it and make sure you get the right guy.
As for their former coach, Brian, Darren Dreger also confirming that Sheldon Keefe and New Jersey Devils GM Tom Fitzgerald have had discussions about Keefe maybe taking that job. In your mind, what is the bigger risk for Sheldon Keefe? Sitting out a season or taking a less than desirable job, maybe rushing into a job this coming season?
Oh, I think it's the latter, undoubtedly, Jay. I think this is a significant decision for Keefe because he better choose wisely if he doesn't want his next job to be his last. He is still a hot commodity here because of his regular season success. He did a great job in Toronto. He really did. During the regular season, he was phenomenal. His winning percentage through the roof. He handled the media and the market, I think, really, really well, especially for a young guy without NHL experience. Yes, the playoff history speaks for itself. But I think there's a number of vacancies out there right now who don't have a lot of playoff history themselves either, or are teams that just simply want to make the playoffs every single year. And I think Sheldon Keefe would be definitely a desirable option. But if you take the wrong job next, you don't have cup rings to stand back on. You don't have a ton of money in your bank account to stand back on. Taking the wrong job can be so damaging. It can basically spin you right out of the next cycle. So if I'm Sheldon Keefe and I know I got 2 years left of guaranteed money from the Leafs, I'm sitting back. I'm not waiting forever. I understand that there can be some insecurities with every coach in every sport. You're worried people are going to forget about you. But if it were up to me, I'd sit there and wait for the best possible option first. You've got the money coming. You've got some time. You got a young family. Spend some time with them and pick wisely if you're Keefe. Because if you get the right spot, you could be in the league still 25 years from now. If you pick the wrong spot, you may be out of the league in a year and a half. So I think it's imperative here. The next stop on his journey is going to say a lot about the longevity of his career. I'm sure he's aware of it. If he's not, I hope he's watching because you need to choose wisely here if you're Sheldon Keefe.